Hi everyone, welcome to the Scottish Scrapper's Guide to Microscrapping. Microscrapping is exactly what it says on the tin. It's scrapping small stuff. Here you can see a circuit board. On this circuit board there are lots and lots of components, and a lot of these components contain precious metals. Hopefully you gain a lot of them and you can make some money from them. So what are the components? What are the things to look out for? And what are the things to save up and collect to maximise your cash? As you can see, I have a table full of components. So let's go through them and let's see what they are and what they contain. Let's start with chips. No, not this type in a bag, not salt and vinegar, and not in the UK the ones you get with fish. These chips are microchips. As you can see, there's an array of different ones here, 4-sided ones, 2-sided ones, some flat packs. But the main thing about these IC chips is that they are often broken down and incinerated, and then the gold bonding wire is recovered from these chips. So they do contain gold. Some of the connectors can be copper and aluminium, but the main thing people are after when they work with IC chips is gold. Slightly different to IC chips are BGAs. So these are still chips, they're still microchips, but you'll notice on the bottom these little balls. BG stands for ball grid. These also have gold bonding wire, and as you can see on top of this one there's a little bit of gold plate as well. These chips are CPUs, central processing units. As you can see, there is a lot more gold content here. On some of these it can be 0.2 to 0.5 of a gram of gold on each chip. These ones are quite small, so it's unlikely there'll be as much gold on these. But as you can see, there is some beautiful pins there, and they are all gold plated. Other ones have the copper top. As you can see, that is copper. I know it's not coloured copper, but it is copper. Okay, lovely Intel chip there from Costa Rica. Okay, you can see the gold plating on top here. And on the bottom, this is a no pin chip. So as you can see, it's flat, there is no pins, but this is all ceramic gold plated. Okay, try and find a real nice one. This one actually feels really light in the hand, but look at those beautiful gold pins. If you're hunting for gold, guys, this is where to look. Okay, if you have the capacity to melt down your metal and to harness the gold, then these are the best option. Okay, so IC chips, CPUs, flat packs, it's all about the gold, baby. It's all about the gold. So as you can see, a variety of no gold pin, but all gold goodness. So that's CPUs. Now I can't mention gold without actually showing you some gold. So here is one of my gold pots. Most of the gold in this, actually, if you looked underneath it, they are gold pin connectors. I can't really see very well there. There we go. Gold pin connectors. Okay, and they come from plugs, sockets, those kind of things that are on circuit boards. When you're connecting little plugs and wires on your circuit boards, then commonly the plug itself has some gold pins. Okay, but as I said, circuit boards aren't the only source of microscrapping, and audio equipment is a great source of gold plated material. So as you can see, this is from SCART lead. We've got a couple of gold plated ends there from SCART leads. We have little audio connectors there as well, nice gold plated. Lots and lots of gold plated items in here. Okay. So best place to get them, as I say, is look for your audio equipment. Look at your old headphones and things like that. And some of the stuff is gold plated. Okay. But on your circuit boards, look for your pins, look for your connectors, and you will find lots of gold plated items. Well, it would be rude to talk about gold and not talk about these little babies. Ram sticks are an absolutely fantastic source of gold. As you can see, look at all those little gold fingers. And you can actually still sell these online fairly easily. So, you know, if you don't do gold recovery, you don't have the capacity to do that. It's very difficult in the UK to do gold recovery because it's illegal to own dangerous acids. But if you're in Canada, you're in America, I think also in Ireland, you can, and you can recover gold if you know what you're doing using dangerous acids. But if you do that, then please be very careful. But again, a great source of gold. You do get gold finger cards as well that you get from circuit boards. Those can be different types of cards for different things. You get TV cards, you get graphic cards, you get audio cards. But these little things you get in laptops, the little ones like this in laptops, and you get the longer ones, maybe about twice the length of this, in normal PCs. So again, great source of gold, but equally, they're very sellable. From gold, we go to silver. That doesn't look silver, you're probably saying to yourself, and you'd be right, a lot of the stuff here isn't silver, but it contains silver. What I mean by that is that some of the stuff in here is brass, and it has a little silver dimple on it. Some of it may be steel and has a little bit of silver attached to it. Essentially, all the things in this box has a little bit of silver on it. So if I take something as an example, as you can see here, that's a little bit of brass, and right in the center of it, that little circle, that is a little silver contact. Okay, they can be quite difficult to get out. Okay, my man Scrap It All done a video very recently on ways to get those little silver nuggets out, those little contacts, and it's something I need to do, clean up all this stuff. There are ones in here, as you can see, there are ones I already have taken out. These little silver contacts. I managed to release them from their bit of brass or whatever it is, but sometimes it's just too difficult to get off, and I just take a little bit of brass with it as well. Obviously, if you were melting down and using nitric acid just to completely melt all this stuff away into a liquid and use a precipitation agent to then bring back the silver, then it doesn't matter too much if you've got a little bit of brass or whatever attached to it. But that does need cleaned up. But as I say, silver contacts, they're all over electronics. If it has a switch, it has a silver contact. That's the golden rule for me. Okay, so keep your eye out, keep all your switches, make sure you're harvesting those silver contacts and little silver bearing items. Following on from our silver theme, these are SMD resistors, means surface mounted device resistors. As you can see, we've all got little numbers on them. That denotes the resistance. And the great thing about resistors is the edges of them are silver. So they are little ceramic resistors, but on each end of them there is silver. So actually, if you stick these in nitric and precipitate the silver back from them, there's actually quite a good silver yield from these. I actually seen a video a long time ago of 999 Doosan doing a video on these and getting some silver recovery from them, and that encouraged me to save them as well. So they are difficult to get off circuit boards. It can be a bit of a pain, and it can take an awful long time to get enough that you're going to get a good bit of silver back. But listen, if you're scrapping the boards and you are depopulating them, then why not take these as well? Yeah, because they do contain silver. Okay, there is a bit of weight to them. It may look like there's no weight to this, but there is a little bit of weight to this, because the edges of these things, they all have silver in them. These little guys are called crystal oscillators, and they also contain silver inside. The external packaging is not silver, that's just steel. Okay, but inside there is a little silver disc. Okay, and there is silver. Not sure the kind of yield you're going to get if you try and melt like a pot like that down with nitric acid. You're probably going to not make any money, because nitric acid isn't cheap, and there's not going to be an awful lot of silver in there. But I don't know, something I like about these. I like the way they feel in the hand. I like the noise they make. I just like them, yeah. And the cool thing about some of them is some of them have a gold plated bottom. So as you can see, the bottom plate on that is gold. Okay, so keep an eye out for those ones. Some gold recovery as well as silver recovery. And again, you'll find these on most circuit boards. They're absolutely everywhere. Okay, and you will build up this collection nice and quickly. Sometimes you get one or two on a board, but usually there's one, sometimes two, sometimes three or four. So great little item for silver recovery, and as you could see, some for gold recovery too. You can't mention silver recovery from circuit boards without mentioning tactical switches. So these guys are tactical switches. As you can see, just little electronic switches you get on boards. A satisfying little click it makes. Okay, and these again are everywhere. Get them a lot on things like printers that have a lot of buttons on them. Have a little board with just these buttons on it. You get them out of Xboxes, PlayStations, whatever it may be. Okay. The key thing for these is obviously it's got a little plastic housing. It's got a little bit of a steel plate on top, but inside is what you're looking for. So as you can see, they are right in the center there, that little circle right in the very center. That, my friends, is silver. So all of these little buttons all contain a little circle of silver right in the very center of the button. Some of them actually can be gold plated as well, so look out for them. There's a little bit of colour in this one. Not sure if that was gold plated and some of the gold plating's worn off it. But tactical switches, and as I say, all switches will have a silver contact. But these little ones, Again, there is plastic on them, but you could, don't know, incinerate them and then obviously stick them in some nitric and try and get some silver back. Silverback, that's an ape, isn't it? A gorilla. The silver just doesn't stop, guys, so this is another source of silver, but also a source of palladium. Now, more modern ones, there is very little palladium, if any. But the older ones you get, if you've got really old circuit boards, you find that some of these will contain palladium. Okay, most of them do contain silver. But again, I think, you know, the older ones you get, the more chance you got of getting these precious metals. The newer ones, not so much. Okay, there is a little bit of a test I think has been done as well that I've seen online, which is the old magnet test. The newer ones seem to be magnetic. They've definitely got some more iron content, and the older ones don't seem to be magnetic, which would suggest much more silver and palladium content in there. But these are a great source of silver, guys, and you will see lots of people collecting these. These are called MLCCs. They are monolithic capacitors. Now you find these on circuit boards, and commonly there's a little number on the circuit board next to these. The number, if it starts with a C, then you can be sure that's a monolithic capacitor. If it starts with an L, then leave it. L is for leave it alone. That's a resistor, it's not a capacitor. Okay, so monolithic capacitors. Again, come in all colours, sizes, some really small ones, some quite big ones. There's a nice big one over there. Okay, some other big ones. And some teeny weeny small ones. Okay, monolithic capacitors. Well, if not just monolithic capacitors, we also have ceramic capacitors. Now these little blue Smarty or M&Ms, whatever you want to call them, they can contain silver as well. I'm not sure about the other ones, but I do know that people collect them, save them. You can sell them on eBay. But you can try and recover the silver from them as well. Okay, I definitely know the little circular ones, they're definitely the ones that are most popular for silver recovery, the little blue ones. I don't know about the other ones, guys, you can tell me if you know. Do these contain silver or do they not? I don't know, I collect them anyway. I've got a big box of these things. But yeah, I collect them. Just to cover it off as well, these are also capacitors. These are aluminium capacitors. So they are made of aluminium, and inside of them there is a little paper coil that is also wrapped in aluminium. So to get these and to clean them up would take forever, and you would need absolutely thousands of them to make any money. Okay, I know some scrap yards will take them as dirty aluminium. Okay, you do get really big ones as well. So if you want to clean up the bigger ones, get a little bit of aluminium from that, then why not? But these small ones, they're not really worth my time. They're not really worth the effort, and you'd need thousands of them, as I say, to actually get any money. Next, we're going to talk about brass, and I refuse to not talk about brass, because fuses, the end of these fuses are brass. Okay, so you can actually sell these to your scrapyard as dirty brass, because obviously not the whole thing is brass. It is attached to other things, so it's not just brass. It doesn't go as clean brass, it goes as dirty brass. Okay, one thing to mention as well around these things, as you can see if you look at this one, Yeah, that looks like tarnished silver. And you know what? That's because it is. It's exactly what it is. That is a silver plated piece of brass. Okay, so again, if you're doing silver recovery, then fuse ends, again, a lot of them are silver plated. And you can actually get gold plated ones as well. Okay, can I see a gold plated one? Is that a gold plated one? No, that's just tarnished silver again. Not focusing very well. There we go. And you know, if you scrap a lot of electronics, you're going to get a lot of these out all the plugs that you scrap. So yeah, don't throw them away. Keep a hold of them. Stick them in as dirty brass. On the subject of brass, we have brass connectors. So these little brass connectors you find on a lot of electronics. They all have usually copper wire attached to the connector itself. And you can get these on a lot of little motors, you get them on circuit boards, mostly on things like power boards than circuit boards themselves. But again, you find them absolutely everywhere. Now people do a couple of different things with these. So as you can see with this one here, it still has the little bit on the end that came off the wire, because that comes straight from a wire. So what you can do is you can cut it, if I can focus, you can cut it right here and just cut that whole bottom section off. Okay, and that'll be then a clean piece of brass. Or sometimes I get the snip, my little snips in here, and pull that piece back and pull this piece back and just pull out that little bit of wire. Okay, you would think that would be very time consuming, but actually you can do quite a lot in a short space of time. I know they look silver, they're probably nickel plated, but they are brass. Okay, exactly the same as any other brass connector. So here's a brass spade connector. As you can see, I've opened that one up, we've taken out the wire, it's nice and clean, beautiful piece of brass. But it's just the same as this piece. Yeah, little piece of brass. Now there's a little bit of copper wire still there, as you can see, but that's alright. So, you know, doesn't matter if there's a little bit of copper in there as well. Some different types of connectors. Again, they are all brass. Okay, so if you don't want to clean them up, then stick them in as dirty brass. If you're happy to clean them up, then you've got a nice clean brass. I'm a hobby scrapper, guys, so I have time to clean them up and I enjoy doing it. Not an issue for me. So there you go. Brass plug connectors. And you find brassy goodness all over electronics. Yeah, some little pieces of electronics that have a little speaker in it, it's commonly just like a noise, like an alarm, so like a beep or something like that. It doesn't need an actual speaker. Sometimes it has a little aluminium, brass plate. So, you know, you can get it from there. And the most things I get my brass from is from plugs. So you have seen, if you're a scrapper, you have seen the old plug soup, where you extract the brass pins from your everyday electronic plugs. So any piece of electronics that has power running to it needs a plug, and the plugs have brass ends. Okay, sometimes these ends can appear silver, so you see a plug like this, that can appear silver. It is still brass. Again, it's just coated or nickel plated, but they are brass. This little piece on top is actually copper. Okay, so look out for them. Bottom bit is brass, top bit copper. Okay, and you'll see lots of bits like that. Separate your copper from your brass, guys, because copper is worth more than brass is. Okay, so lots of little brass pieces in there. As I say, most of it comes from plug connectors. Your plug extensions are really good for that kind of thing. So this piece here obviously came off a plug extension. This is one where you plug one into the wall, and it's a device or a unit that has 5-6 plug sockets that you can plug into. And if you take one of them apart, all inside it is brass. Okay, so don't throw away your plugs. Definitely don't throw away your brass. What I would say is always check your screws. Okay, so screws on these plugs. This is more for the UK guys, because these are UK plugs, which are 3-pronged plugs. These can be brass as well, or they can actually be just iron. They can be metal, steel, and magnetic, although they will still look like this. So you do have to check them with your magnet. Make sure that it's not steel, and if it is, take that screw out, stick it in your shred, and then stick the nice bit of clean brass in your brass box. Brass. This is another metal. So as you can see, it's in a little plastic box, but these little plastic boxes contain a metal called tantalum. Tantalum is a very rare metal as well, and it's worth quite a lot of money. So look for the little yellow boxes on your circuit boards. When I first started scrapping, I watched a video of someone doing these and taking them off circuit boards, and it says they're on absolutely everything. Well, they're not on absolutely everything anymore, not the yellow ones. Ones you do find nowadays are these ones. These ones with a little cross on it, they are also tantalum capacitors. Okay, but it's not just them. So I have collected different types. So we have these ones, we have the yellow ones, also have these ones. They are also tantalum capacitors. These ones I'm not so sure about. So you tell me, guys, do you know? Are they tantalum? Are they not? They look very similar, but just slightly different. So please, if you know, let me know. Thank you. Our next item is going to be copper. Copper is what every scrapper is hunting for. Scrapper's gold. That's what they call copper. And it really is. Yeah, it's the easiest thing to make money on for a scrapper. You don't come across a lot of gold. You don't come across a lot of silver. You do come across a lot of copper and brass and aluminium and steel. So you want to make sure you utilize as much of that copper as you possibly can. Now these little transistors are full of copper. So as you can see, this plate on the transistor is copper. Okay, and that's a significant little bit of copper on a little transistor, yeah? These transistors are also referred to as MOSFETs. So you'll hear that quite commonly. People calling them MOSFETs, but they are just transistors. Transistors are fantastic things. You couldn't have electronics without transistors. Okay, but they are copper. All the little plates you see, even the ones that look silver, they are copper. Okay, ones with plastic backing here, there's still a copper plate inside this piece. This, not a MOSFET, it's called a bridge, but same thing. Crack that open inside, there's copper plates. Okay, so bridges, MOSFETs, transistors, whatever you want to call them, they do again come in different sizes. They're more or less the same shape, but they all do contain copper. Okay, so that little box there, that's quite heavy in the hand to hold. Okay, what that one is, there's a really dirty looking one in there. Let's have a look. And it is just dirty. Okay, but again, copper inside there. It's a strange looking one. It's a little bit different. Little tiny ones. Little copper plate. You get ones even smaller than that. You can't talk about copper without talking about transformers. So transformers, again, you get lots of these on power boards within your electronics. Some of them can still be coated. The copper itself can be coated, as you can see, some coating around this copper. But inside there, you have to unwrap it all. But there may be some copper inside there that isn't coated. If it is coated, you just stick it in your insulated wire. If not, then you've got clean copper, number 2. It's number 2 copper because it does have a lacquer. Okay. Any copper from motors, transformers, inductors, they all contain a lacquer. Okay. Which makes it number 2 copper. Only bare bright wire that comes from power cords doesn't have that lacquer. Okay. In terms of copper wire, that is. Obviously copper piping, number 1, number 2 as well, depending on if it has solder on it. But these little transformers, they all contain copper. Okay, and again, they come in little different shapes, different sizes. Some of the copper is thicker and some not so thick in others. Some of it's kind of like that rope copper. Other stuff just nice and shiny and thick and gorgeous. Okay. They're all surrounded by ferrite. But they all contain copper. So these are mini transformers that you will get from power boards. These are inductors. Inductors are some of my most favourite things to collect from circuit boards because they're just so easy to get the copper off. These little ones here, it's just a little spool, and literally you can just pull it off the spool nice and easy. You can actually knock the ferrite out, stick a little pencil or something in there, and you can just pull one end of that copper and just unspool it. So easy. And it's lovely, beautiful copper. Nice and clean. Still number 2 though, remember that. It still does have that lacquer. Still number 2 copper. They do come in all different shapes and sizes, as you can see. You can see that lacquer really on the copper, can't you? Essentially, they're just copper coils. And all these copper coils create a magnetic field. Okay, you can see our little copper donut here. That's called a toroid or toroid. Again, it's just copper wound around a piece of ferrite or a piece of ceramic. Not sure if it is ferrite actually. But again, creates a magnetic field. Okay, so beautiful copper from Inductors. Gorgeous. And you know what, guys? If you want a little bit of brass, if you want a little bit of silver, and you want a little bit of copper, all in one handy little item, then grab these guys. These guys contain all of those things. It's got a lovely little copper reel in it. It's got little silver nubs, and they are attached to a little piece of brass. So these are called relay switches, and these contain, as I say, brass, copper and silver. So don't leave these behind on your circuit boards, guys. You can tell from the bottom, they are a little plastic piece on the bottom. If you take this off and you see like a epoxy resin, then it's not a relay switch. Okay, so look at the bottom. It looks like a little bit of epoxy around the side there, but it's not. And regardless, it's not an epoxy bottom. Okay, a lot of kind of transformers and things like that that are waterproofed are encased in epoxy. These aren't. Okay, so nice and easy to break these open and to get all the goodies out inside. We'll touch briefly on motors. So you do get motors from micro scrapping. This thing came out of a hairdryer. As you can see, these are little DC motors. If you crack one open, then that's what you get inside them. Okay, again, nice little reel of copper. You can stick that straight into your copper bearing motors, or you can unreel the copper. It's entirely up to you. Okay, but again, a source of copper from micro scrapping. The final piece I'm going to share for this micro scrapping journey is aluminium. So all these pieces are little aluminium heat sinks. Okay, some will need to be cleaned up a little bit, but on circuit boards these cover your chips. Okay, so on a big chip like this, you'll have a big aluminium heatsink, sometimes a copper heatsink, sometimes aluminium and copper. With these BGA chips, again, they do have a heatsink on top of them, but it's much more likely to be a heatsink like that, okay, that will sit on top of that BGA chip. Okay, so you get them a lot. Now the other ones you get are like these, and what these cool is your transistors or your MOSFETs. So you commonly see these attached to MOSFETs. Okay, cool them down. You get a lot of them on power boards, again attached to MOSFETs. But the aluminium is absolutely everywhere, guys. Yeah, a lot of these pieces in here came off a TV. Yeah, and this is what these are on the old TVs. This is what used to connect the screen itself to the computer board or the circuit board. And commonly on these you get a little ribbon attached to that with little gold plating and that on it as well. Again, they need cleaned up a little bit, But again, aluminium heat sinks are all over power boards especially, but you do also get them on PCBs on your circuit boards. Okay, so lots of aluminium. You can build up your aluminium really quickly just through heat sinks. And that is it, guys, for this episode. Thank you as always for tuning in. Hope you found that a little bit useful. Hope now you know, if you're going to do some micro scrapping and going through your circuit boards, what you look for and what you can pull off and what they contain. Okay, you do need to be persistent. It does take a lot of time, does take a lot of effort, and if you're out there solely just to make money, you ain't going to make any, because your time is far more precious than the money that you're going to make from it. Okay, so just be aware of that. As a hobby scrapper, guys, I'm not out there to make money. Okay, so I take stuff apart for the fun of it, and to make these videos and show you guys what's inside these electronics, what can be gained from scrapping them. The main thing you're gaining from scrapping electronics is they're not going to landfill. Okay, a lot of these things would go to landfill, and you know, some people watch my videos and they comment around, you'd be much better selling that, or it'd be worth more selling that, and you're absolutely right, yeah, but a lot of the stuff doesn't work, and I don't have the knowledge to fix them. I don't have the time or capacity to sell them, so what I do is I scrap them down to their barest components, and I will then sell on those metals. Okay, so that's what I do. That's how I enjoy it, that's why I do it, and a lot of other hobby scrappers out there do exactly the same thing. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little video. If you did, then as always, guys, please do hit that like button. It really does help the video out. I do really appreciate everyone that hits that like button if you're giving it a watch. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next teardown, or even the next tutorial on Scrapping Scotland. Goodbye for now.